Hello, Tori Ann Perky here, and from my homeschool to your homeschool, today we're going to do something just a little bit different than most of my other videos. Today we're going to compare a couple different curriculum, and we are going to compare WriteShop to the IEW, Institute of Excellence Writing. We're going to compare these two, and they're both very, very good writing curriculums. I actually really love both of them for different reasons. And so we're going to go in and we're going to look at each one. This video is going to be a little bit longer because I'm actually going to take you through what it looks like on some different pages. I'm going to tell you what I like. I'm going to tell you what I don't like. Now, just really quickly, so you know my background, I've been homeschooling for over 16 years, but I also have a really strong English background. I won awards in high school and college for my writing and my editing. I actually minored in editing, and I was a professional editor before I came home and had kids. I've also taught writing, not just to my children, but also at our local co-op. There's over 70 kids at our local co-op, and I've taught the writing classes from ages 12 all the way up to 18. So I have quite a bit of experience that I'm going to bring to bear as I review and look at these different curriculum, and I suppose curricula, and we'll just go through this step by step. Now, just a couple disclaimers I want you to know. I have mostly used the IEW writing curriculum, different variations of it, when I've done my teaching, and so that's the one that I started with. However, I was given a copy of WriteShop to review, and I am so grateful that I had this chance to do this because there are some amazing things here, and I'm so excited to share what I've discovered in the WriteShop curriculum. But I was given a copy, although the review here, of course, is completely my own opinion and how I see these two comparing side by side. Now, just want to let you know, if you're watching this video, I have a blog companion to this video where I'm going to actually take and do a side-by-side comparison that you can read. It's going to be a little bit different than what's in the video itself because we're going to do a walkthrough in the video. In the video, I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you what WriteShop looks like. I'm going to show you what the IEW looks like, and I'm going to talk about what I like and maybe some things I don't like in each one. That is my goal, because ultimately, every curriculum you're going to be picking, it's going to be the curriculum that works best for your family, and what works for one isn't for others. So I'm going to try to be really unbiased here and talk about the good and the bad and the things I love and the things that maybe I don't. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, I want to start by looking at WriteShop, and we're going to start by looking at the teacher's manual, and then I'll take you through the student manual. You notice the teacher manual for WriteShop is both 1 and 2. So there's 2 levels of WriteShop, and the teacher manual is all combined into one. And one of the things that you need to know about WriteShop is it's really geared for the middle grade writers, so 6th through 8th, 7th through 9th. That's the age level you're looking at for WriteShop. And before that, it just would be too high level, and the other way to use this would be a remedial writing course for a high school student. So let's just go through this. I really love this student manual. I love how it's got the tabs built in. It's very easy to find within the teacher manual the area that you need. So we're going to start, there's an introduction section, and what I loved about the introduction is I read through this and I felt like I had a really good overview of the program without feeling overwhelmed, and I was able to really grasp what the program was going to try to accomplish just by reading the introduction. And then it goes through and it tells me WriteShop 1 and WriteShop 2 at a glance. So it gives me the lesson number, the lesson title. Also goes through the focus of the lesson and the skill builders. I love the skill builders in WriteShop. I think they're powerful. I think it's a really strong part of this program, and it's not something that you see quite as much done like this in some of the other programs, particularly IEW. So I really like their skill builder focus. And here we have WriteShop 2. So again, lesson focus, and you'll notice that the skill builders kind of break off because by the time we get down here, this second half, this is all essay writing. So it starts with paragraphs, and then it ends, the second half of this second year is going to be all essay writing. And then it goes into how to use it. And again, I felt like once I'd read through this, it all made a lot more sense. I didn't feel nearly as overwhelmed. I really appreciated that, how they laid that out. Okay, so the lesson plans, they have 2 kinds of tracks. They have a 2 or 3 year track. This is going to be a more average or slower version, particularly the 3 year track, and then a 1 year accelerated track. Looking at how much materials here, I think 1 year would be very aggressive if you were to actually really dig in. They recommend a 2 to 3 year track, which means you're basically purchasing one curriculum for your entire middle school years. They have, every lesson is designed to take 2 weeks, and they lay it out exactly the same every single every single lesson. I also really liked that. There's not a lot of variation, and so I know what's going on. I would know how to do step 1, step 2, step 3, and my kids would also know how to do, I would know how to break those apart into pieces. I will say that if you like a lot of variety and you don't like someone really feeling confined, it's probably not the best curriculum for you, because there is a lot of structure built in, and there is a sense of don't skip ahead, don't skip things, you need every piece. There is that pending sense of you need to really stay in step. Having said that, if you were to take longer than 2 weeks, it would just take you longer than 2 or 3 years to get through the program. The third 3-year track assumes that you're going to be supplementing with a lot of additional writing and other types of assignments. Okay, so then we go right into the lessons. Let me just flip to a later lesson here. So here's one on describing food. The early ones, like I said, do paragraphs. The later ones do essay writing and other types of writing, particularly essays. And it's the same structure every time. First, there's material. There might be an activity. Activities are going to be fun, sort of hands-on type things that you do with the kids to get them ready. And then they do a practice paragraph, which is awesome, before they brainstorm and do their real paragraph. So there's actually this extra pre-writing activity. They don't call it a pre-writing activity, but it's like they're practicing just doing it without any stress, no revising. So by the time your kids finish any particular lesson, they will have actually practiced this skill multiple times. Then this is something I love about the structure. They do this brainstorming piece, and they structure it in the student manual, so it's very, very easy to do this. It's very walked through. I love this piece. I think this is a weakness of the IEW program. It does not have this brainstorming piece. Then they encourage what's called sloppy copy, which is just going and writing things out and then doing 2 revisions. You do a revision, the parent takes a look, they do a second revision, that's their final draft. This process is powerful, and these 2 steps, brainstorming and sloppy copy, kids don't like to do this, but by the time they're done with this program, they will see the value. And so this whole section, this is all your lesson plans for the 2 years. Each lesson plan pretty much is one spread, and then you've covered, you have all your lesson in one spread. Now, I will say that one of the downsides of this particular program is I don't care for the formatting of the content. I think it's a little hard to read. I think it's dense. I think it's difficult to find. Sometimes if you're in the student manual trying to find the place in the teacher manual where it references it, I think it's a little tricky because it doesn't stand out. Like this would be teacher manual, but this would, let me give you an example. Let me just find one. It might say, look at something in the student manual, and then the student manual and the teacher manual, it's hard to line those up. I'm looking for an example, and of course now I can't find one. But the student manual is only going to reference, it's going to just be like A4. So there's an example. That's actually teacher manual as well. But anyway, so I think it's a little harder to pull the 2, and that is the downside of having a separate teacher manual from a student manual. You have to be really careful about your cross-referencing, and I think that is a weakness here. Okay, but there are so many other good things in this book. They have a teacher evaluation section. So let's say you are not feeling as confident about your ability to help your kid, what to look for. This is going to give you special tips on just how to do the different levels of editing, what to look for, things like that. And then this next part, positive and encouraging comments, that's always helpful. You want to make sure you're doing positive as well as negative. I love this next section, common problems found at each lesson. So your kid's unique, and of course writing is subjective, but the reality is that this is, there are going to be things that show up the same for student after student. And if you know that, you can be looking for those things. And then it gives you lots and lots of help on the problem as well as the solution. So I really, really like this. Problems of mechanics. So this is going to be the types of things, run-on sentences, incomplete sentences. It's going to help give you some help on how to do that if you need to freshen up on that. I love this next section. This is the student writing sample section. So you're looking for, what is kind of the level of writing I should expect. It's really hard sometimes to know where your kids are compared to what you should be looking for. So this gives you lots and lots and lots of additional samples. And then we get into what can the checklists look like. And it gives you examples of the checklists and then how to mark their papers. So every step of your way as a teacher, they walk you through. Skill builder keys. We're going to look at what the skill builders are, but every single lesson has 3 skill builders. It goes through and it says do this, do this, do this. They build on top of each other, and you get all your answers all here in one place. And then here are the answers to the pre-writing activities. So those are the activities that they've asked you to do to set up the lesson. Here's the answers to those. Appendix A just has some handy references, but then here, this is actually also one of my, I love this part, how to expand the lessons. And this supplemental activity section blew my mind away. There are so many things where you will buy and it's a separate thing, and it's all that you might say, oh, I need creative writing ideas or whatever. They're all right here. Here are ways to expand the lessons. They had creative, here is how to have different stories that kids could write, different formats. Word banks. I loved this back section. There's a whole section on different story topics to weave together. So I feel like the teacher manual is so much more than just a lesson plan. It has so many supplemental things. So let's take that and put it off to the side. And now I'm going to show you the student work. Okay, so this is the student manual. I'm just going to show you. This is WriteShop 1 and 2 put together. These are consumable, which means you'll need to buy one for each one of your students. They are purchased separately. I mean, you can buy the bundle together, but you can buy WriteShop 1 with the teacher manual and then WriteShop 1 by itself or WriteShop 2 by itself. Supplemental, but very, very cheap, is the copying and dictation exercises for WriteShop 1 to just continue to help support the grammar and the punctuation parts of this. So there's a lot of appendix material. Some of it's very, very similar to what you will see in what you would see in the teacher manual. And then I just want to go through, let's find the beginning of one here. Let's go to lesson 3. I want to show you what a lesson will look like. So lesson 3, remember they're working on paragraphs. And you're noticing this is actually a little bit of a tricky part of WriteShop. Again, the formatting I think is a little hard to read, and you don't have page numbers. What you have instead is this 3-1. So finding where you're supposed to be in your lesson manual is a little tricky. And again, and it's also, and you don't necessarily know what page number to go to in the teacher manual to line up with this. So I do think that's a weakness in the program. I also think that this is not super friendly to look at. I also think that the formatting is difficult if you have any sort of reading disability. This would be really hard for a dyslexic or a kid who's struggling with their reading because it is just dense and there's no visual break. So I do think that's a weakness of the program, but the content's there. So if you have ways you can supplement that or offset that, that'll work really well. Okay, so from the beginning, we have observing a person brainstorming. This is going to be the pre-writing activity. This is the beginning of lesson 1. And then we go through here, and then you're going to be working on writing your pre-writing paragraph before you fall into this section. And what I want to show you is one of the things I love about the program is there are really, really, really great examples all the way throughout. I think the weakness of other programs is kids don't get to read good samples of other kids' writing. This program has lots and lots of samples. I loved that about the program. So after that they go through that, look, now there's a lot of blanks, a lot of places where they can do the activity. They're having them work on, in this case, do a character sketch. So there's lots of brainstorming going on. And so here we go. Moving on, and then that's the end of the writing piece. So they're going to be doing the brainstorming and then their sloppy copy and then writing their first revision and their second revision. But then we see the skill builder, which you will assign at a different, in that week lesson plan. So here's the brainstorming worksheet, and every single lesson has a brainstorming worksheet. Again, I really, really liked that about this. Now here are the skill builders. There are 3 skill builders per lesson. I was thrilled to see these. I've not seen this in other programs. I really, really like how the skill builders work. So you have 1, 2, day 3. The skill builders build on top of each other, so what they do on day 1, it'll get harder and harder, which is exactly what you would want. Then they have a checklist. Now, depending on how you feel about checklists, this is either great or this is overwhelming. The checklists are very, very similar, and they do have a little bit of difference as you get older, but the first couple paragraphs are going to have these really intense checklists. and then the kids build on those skills. This might be too much for your kid. This might feel overwhelming to you and your kid. If so, this program might be a little bit of a, that's a weakness of this program, is I think the checklist can feel overwhelming. But there's a student writing checklist, there's also a teacher writing checklist, and you'll notice that in the teacher manual they showed you how to fill this out and gave you examples. And then this is the final evaluation, where if you want to give a grade, you can. This also just helps you be a little more objective as you're going through. So that's each lesson. And then there we go, lesson 4, lesson 5, lesson 6, and so on and so on. And really, so this is, right here, is all of this is all 1, and then it goes into WriteShop 2. Now there are just a couple things in the back. There are what they call word lists, and I will say that I felt like the word lists, so both IEW and WriteShop have word lists, but I felt like WriteShop is a much stronger set of word lists for the kids to work on, and they also strongly encourage using a thesaurus. There's different kinds of words. You can see behavior, adverbs. I just thought that what they had come up with here, really, really useful. Different words for colors, things like that. So that's how the student edition looks. It's how they talk together. And so yeah, there you go. WriteShop 1 and WriteShop 2. And like I said, WriteShop 2 focuses more on essay writing, particularly the second half. Okay, so now we're going to flip over and look at IEW's curriculum. All right, so now we're going to move on to the IEW curriculum, and I do have a confession to make. Just as I was getting ready to do this review, I just found out that they are releasing a brand new version of their signature program, and they're now going to call it Structure and Style, I believe. So I can't use my old curriculum because it's not going to look like that by the time you probably see this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some of their ancillary product, because this is very, very similar to what the samples look like. Then I'm going to talk through some of the sample pages. I just couldn't get my hands on the new curriculum because it hasn't come out yet. So just like the other one, we're going to go through the teacher edition first, then we're going to do the student edition, and we're going to talk about how IEW compares to WriteShop. So let's just go through and just take a look. So the way that IEW is structuring their new curriculum is they are doing what's called a teacher wraparound edition. And again, they just have some introductory material. I felt like, so the way IEW structures all of their things is they have this whole other teacher training program that they invite you to go through. And it's very comprehensive. It's really awesome, but it's also a lot of time. So it's more comprehensive than what's in WriteShop, but that might actually be overkill and more than you need. WriteShop does a really good job of just putting it in the teacher manual, and I'm not seeing that here. I've never seen that at the very beginning of an IEW curriculum because they have that other curriculum. So there's a setup like this. You have your writing lessons, and they have units, and then within the units they have lessons. Their lessons have less material per lesson and then they have more lessons. And you'll notice here that they go through 30 lessons, 31, and then so it's roughly 30, 32, just like WriteShop's, and gives you some extra weeks. So they have set up what's called a teacher wraparound edition, and let me just show you how this works. Basically, the student edition is right here, and you'll see it says not for duplication, so you are supposed to buy the consumable student. But the student is here, and then the teacher material wraps around the outside, so it's very, very easy to see how the two correlate. This has been the standard within the traditional textbook industry for a really, really long time. And I really appreciate that IEW has chosen to do this format with their revision. This was something they've been doing over the last several years because it makes it so much easier as a teacher. You don't actually have to even look at the student edition. You have both right there. However, the downside is you do have less room for the teacher material, and that can sometimes be a little tricky. So I just wanted to show you that. So IEW goes through, if there's no information that they need to give you, then it's just the student page. And you're just going to go through. The other thing that's nice about IEW, so here's what you know about how IEW structures. Whereas WriteShop focuses on brainstorming and then writing and gives lots of student examples, the way IEW works, and this is throughout all their programs, is they give you a paragraph. And this is designed to be at the same grade level as WriteShop, so 6 through 8, 7 through 9. They give you a paragraph. You deconstruct the paragraph using keywords and just pulling out the key information, and then you rewrite your new paragraph based on this. So they give you the source material, you deconstruct it, and then you rewrite it. It's a very different type of writing, learning how to write. And some works better for some others. Sometimes I find that the kids have a little bit of trouble translating, and they do it translating this skill into their own writing. But I have seen the value for kids who have trouble condensing and then just focusing on key concepts. So once again, it just kind of depends. They do have a checklist, just like in the WriteShop, but these checklists are shorter, so there is value in the shorter checklist. And then they get bigger and bigger and bigger as the kids learn more style. Now, like I said, one of the downsides of IEW is it doesn't have nearly as much skill writing built into it. There is some, but a lot of it is designed, you're supposed to kind of have it happen as you're doing each one of these keyword outlines is what they call. And then there will be some other activities that they do. Here's an example, like using quality adjectives. But the quantity of practice and the quality, I would say, is actually less in IEW than WriteShop. So if you feel like this is going to be useful for your kids, these skill building, I would think that WriteShop is the stronger one. But WriteShop doesn't do as good a job of helping kids know how to take information, condense it, and then pulling back out. So that's how this is structured. I just wanted to show you. And then this is the teacher edition. So let me show you the student edition really quick. Just switch this right here. So the student edition is, the other thing that I do like about IEW is it's a little more visually friendly. I still think it's dense. I still think that in a lot of ways it's not a great layout for a textbook. I do think that there's better ways to do this, and this font is going to be harder to read than the WriteShop font for your dyslexics. So unfortunately, it's not great for either one, but I do think, you'll see that they've got the checklist here. It's definitely, this is definitely better than it used to be. Here's your text, and there are some graphics. I mean, they're nothing to write home about, but there are, let me move this over. I'm guessing you can't see all that. There are some graphics here, and it just is more visually pleasing. There's more white space on the page, which can be a little more helpful when kids are trying to do their work. So that's a good chunk of the student edition. The other thing I wanted to show you is here in the back, they have several helps, which I would assume they will have in their main, because I've seen it across their programs, different conversations about how to do different polishes. Here are some samples. Again, not as many samples as you'll see in the other program, but they do have writing samples. And then and there's things like vocabulary quizzes that you can have your kids doing, and then they have flashcards to help the kids with vocabulary words that will help them grow their vocabulary and things like that. One thing we did not go over with this program, and that's because I don't have the scope and sequence, is how many weeks are going to be in the structure and style. I would assume it's similar to these because there are, most of the programs are designed around a 32-week. If you're interested in doing something a little more content-based, I will say that I really do they have an ancient history, they have a medieval history, they also have like a folk tale, fairy tale for younger kids. They have several that are content-based, and if you want, they also have specific curriculum that are designed just to help with essay writing and literary analysis and things like that. So IEW does have more in their repertoire than WriteShop, and WriteShop is part of a bigger WriteShop has things for younger kids and older kids as well, but IEW just has more. So let's take a look at these sample pages for IEW really quick, and these are the ones that you can get off the website. You can see level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 2 roughly aligns with the middle grade years, so that's the one I pulled off. So again, you can see they have their teacher edition. This is going to how you prepare, and they actually tell you to go watch some of these discs to prepare how to teach each lesson, which is fine, but again, I don't know about your prep time, but I think this feels like an overwhelming amount of prep time considering a busy homeschool mom. But if you need that help, that's there. I do like this that is not included in the WriteShop. They have literary suggestions to go along with the topics that you're covering, and that is really nice. So you can, if you were to do their literature selection, this program, and then they also have what are called fix-its, which is their version of how they teach grammar and punctuation, and it's not copywork and dictation. It's where you have a sentence that's full of mistakes, and you find the mistakes and then fix it together. If you were to do those 3 programs, do the reading, do this, and then also do fix-its, you would have a very comprehensive English program for your middle school years. But again, the fix-its are ancillary. They're aligned, and you can get the scope and sequence to align, but they don't come with this program. You have to purchase them separately or in a bundle. And of course, you'll have to buy the book separately as well. Okay, so but this is a sample page. You'll notice that there's the student edition, there's the teacher edition. I do like that they break down how to break up the days for the kid, and they also show where to watch the videos. So both programs have a video component. WriteShop has a video component, so does IEW. Very, very different videos though. The WriteShop videos are more like PowerPoints. They are okay and the voice is okay, but it's just watching a screen and then words moving around. The IEW is actually Andrew, and I'm going to not say his last name correctly, Padua, I believe, Padua. He is teaching a class, and they have refilmed this is part of their new, announcing this new program, refilmed this entire their IEW 1, level 1, or I think it's A, B, and C, refilmed it all with kids in the classroom, and then this tells you where to go watch those, and you can stream those online. So it kind of depends. Like in some ways, you're sitting through a whole class, whereas the other WriteShop is more just focusing on the content. This is an actual teacher teaching. Again, it depends on what your kids need. But it goes through the goals, tells the kids what they're going to accomplish, goes through the breakdown. What I really like about the teacher edition is one of the big parts is these keyword outlines, and you as the teacher are supposed to show the kids and demonstrate how to break apart a paragraph and pull out keywords so they can then reconstruct the paragraph in their own words. And the idea there is that they are getting a lot of training in what really good writing looks like because they're seeing it over and over again. But these keyword outlines can be tricky to make, and so it's nice to be able to go through and see what the expectation is of how to put this together. And then adverbs, things, there's a lot of just teacher helps here. But mostly it's about how to do it on the board, whether you're teaching your kids at home or in a co-op setting. Some extra instruction on style, and then here's the student. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of how the teacher edition is going to work. Again, you're going to see the entire student edition and then some ideas of things you can do in the teacher edition. Here's some examples of what the student edition looks like. I do like that almost every paragraph that you'll be doing your keyword outline on comes with some kind of picture. I know it shouldn't matter, but visually there's just more space to breathe on the page, although I do worry about the font choice. Here's an example of a checklist. Oh, that's another teacher edition. So let me see if I can go through here and find another student edition. These must have gotten messed up. Yeah, so you'll see that the formatting on the student page is very, very simple. It's wider than I would like. I would have liked them to condense it a little bit more in the student edition to make it a little bit easier to read, but just gives you an idea of what those text pages look like. And then let's see if we can find, there's an example of a student checklist. And like I said, these get longer the longer they go in the program, but when they get started, it's just the things they've already learned. I think another weakness of the IEW program that I like about WriteShop is that they have very proprietary naming for some of the conventions that you put in writing, whereas WriteShop uses the standard naming that you would probably get in a class. So there you have it. Side-by-side comparison of WriteShop versus IEW. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. It certainly was fun for me to kind of go through both and really think through what makes each one have a lot of value and what are some things that I think maybe could be improved on each one. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's all about what is the right fit for you and your family. Now, if this is the first time joining me, be sure to check out the other videos I make. I make a video every week to help moms and dads be super successful and confident in their homeschool. So if you've never checked that out, be sure to check out the videos on my YouTube channel. I also have a blog where I do a whole bunch of that and embed the videos into blog posts. So no matter where you're finding this, there's definitely more content there for you. You just need to check it out because my goal is every week to help you be just a little bit closer to being super successful and confident as a homeschool mom.